Hey everybody, welcome to Ellis Mowers. I appreciate y'all watching the channel as always. We've got, in this video is the first of the lot of 5 mowers that I got in May from my friend Jesse down the road, Jesse HDZ on YouTube. Thank you again, Jesse. This is the second lot of mowers that I got from him in the past 2 years. Last year I got a Yard Machines 38-inch cut, another silver LT1000, and a couple other items. A Southern States mower as well as a fourth rider that was mostly a parts mower and a bunch of other parts. So super nice of him to let me get another lot from him, and this is the best one of the bunch. It is what I guess you could say everybody's favorites, most small engine guys' favorite residential mower is. This is a Craftsman LT1000, and it has, for the most part, all of the issues that one of these Craftsman LT1000s have. So we're going to go over those issues. I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of how to fix them. I have done them many times on the channel, but I want for this mower in particular to cover all of the basics, as some of y'all have seen me do these quite a few times on this channel, fixing some of the main things. And also people like Terrell Fixes All have a bunch of videos on Craftsman LT1000s and how to fix some stuff on them, as well as a lot of my other fellow small engine guys. So I'm going to give you all a quick synopsis, tell you a quick deal of how to get the things off, fixed, put back on, and then we'll wrap this video up. This is a running, driving mower already, and I don't need to cover a lot of bases with it except for the 40,000 foot view. The 4 common issues that I find, I think there are 4. One, on these older LT1000s that have the kind of narrow looking headlight lens on them, they have issues with the hood brackets breaking. I've already fixed those. Actually just using zip ties. The second issue that you usually find are the deck return springs don't work. Like the blades will still try and turn even after you disengage the deck. That is because grooves get worn in the deck. I'll show you what you need to do to get that off and grind out the grooves. The third issue is in relation to if you have a Briggs and Stratton engine on the mower. It has sometimes issues with valves getting out of adjustment and it becoming hard to start. Sometimes it's a compression release. I don't think it's a compression release on this mower. I think it's just a valve adjustment. And then the fourth issue, let's see if I can get put on the spot with the fourth issue. Let me think about the fourth issue. I can't think of it on camera right now. Anyways, I'll tell you after the intro here, but if you have any questions about the video, feel free to reach out to me, Ellis at ellismowers.com, or at ellismowers09 on Instagram and Facebook. I have affiliate links down below with partners that I with companies that I partner with on the channel. Feel free to check them out. You can get a little bit of discount, and I get a little bit of help as well if you buy off of those links. Let me figure out the fourth issue on this thing, and I'll let you know what it is after the intro. Let's get started on this Craftsman. Of course it came to me after I did the intro there. It's the brakes, especially on these 6 speeds. They have issues with the brakes getting frozen, especially if you leave the parking brake on and it gets some moisture and stuff in those slide pins. So we're going to take those apart and give it a look as well. That's the fourth issue. The first issue I'm going to show you is the hood. So let me get the hood out and I'll show you what happens a lot of times with these. So I wanted to save this hood mostly because of how nice it is apart from where it was cracked at the front. And it's not cracked from plastic stress and fatigue. It's more cracked because I think somebody ran into something with it from what I could tell. So I ended up I was lucky with this one because I did not want to separate the hood or get a different hood, because like I said, this one, even the stickers are in good shape. It tells me that it was likely garage kept for most of its life. But on these particular hoods that look like, I'll give you one more look at it, that look like this with the narrowish lens at the top, these are the ones made kind of early 2000s, probably 2000, 2001, 2002. We'll give a date code and a model on this mower real quick too. I think it's probably an 02 model. It's 917-271-750. It's a 10-3 of 2002 is when this mower was made, so I was right. 6-speed, 18 horsepower Briggs, and 42-inch deck. So that's what's going on with this. So this is one of the first years that they changed these as well. These hoods, or these engines for Intex. But for these hood hinges, this one right here was not broken yet. I don't know how well the light can be shown. This one was, it was broken in a bunch of places. The hood was cracked all across here. And what I did, you might be able to see it better on the front. But what I did down here is put a zip tie right here, zip tie right here, zip tie right here across the crack. So one on the top portion of the hood, and then one under, I put a hole under the hood here in order to get that going. I drilled one hole into this bracket, did one zip tie on this side of the hood, one zip tie on this side of the hood through the same hole, and as you can see, even when I pull it up and kind of abuse it a little bit, it is holding up just fine. When you look on the front of the hood right here, the only thing you can necessarily see, you can't really even see these zip ties from where I did tighten this hood, or merge these two together. Again, the plastic nose cone, it seems like it's okay, and this was more from an impact and not from weathering, which is kind of unfortunate. But you can see kind of the zip tie deal that I did here on both sides when it comes to making the hood hinge work. And luckily I was able to save this hood. So that's kind of how you save the hood on this. Let's move on to, well, we'll do the brakes and the deck at the same time, because there may be a little bit more common issues than, well, even the hood may not be as common of an issue, but the brakes and the deck and the brakes are definitely common issues that I want to address here. Let me get the tools that I need to get everything off, and I'll get to the point where we take the deck off, and I'll show you what's going on with the grooves in the deck, and then we'll tackle the brakes. All right, guys, let me show you the best points to get this off at. You have two in the front, 1, 2, and then I just cross over the arms in the front. You can use them as a handle. On this side, you have a deck mount at the top here, a deck mount on the side here, and then when we go to the other side, there's another deck mount on this side right here. Right there, it mounts into the thing I've already got up there. You also have a point right there on the tensioner pulley where it engages, and then you just pull the cable off of that last pulley there, or that last mount right here, and it's ready to roll. Alright, so I'm gonna see if I can see the grooves on this. What we end up going to take off is this deck actually might be okay, because what you want to see is an easy engagement and an easy disengagement, and that's what that's doing. So we're gonna just kind of lube it up here. See if it'll work even better. So this thing is super. Actually, it works out all right. A lot of times what you will see though, if you see this on your mower, right in here, you'll see a groove that will get worn in over time from these slide pins that I think they end up freezing up, or you know, they sit here in this certain area and they won't work properly, and then they'll freeze, like I said, freeze up, and they'll start wearing a groove into this, and then on the inside as well, somewhere in the neighborhood of right here. What you can do is there's a 9/16 right here, and then it's just a square end on the bottom. You can hold it up while you take the 9/16 off. That right here takes off your entire tensioner pulley assembly. It's this pulley on this bracket followed by this slider mechanism, and you've got a washer that has a collar on it that this slides around in, and then a small little thin washer on the bottom, just kind of keep everything controlled. This one, guys, actually is very good, so I'm pleased at that. The one thing it is missing, however, is a tension spring to allow the deck belt to come back all the way, or the tensioner to come back all the way. You see a little bit of mud and dirt right here, but that's nothing crazy, and it's not affecting the functionality of anything. We'll get that taken care of in a second. So let me grab this tensioner spring. I'll show you how that goes, and then we'll move on to the brakes. But that is that's the main issue with these decks. Sometimes these brakes will get stuck as well, and will cause issues. But as you can see, it looks like we have had a deck spindle replaced on this as well. The guy did put new blades on it, which is nice, and everything looks good underneath, so that's really good. No rust. This is the 12 gauge deck. This is the desirable deck. So again, grooves, if you see those, that's what you're gonna end up doing there. I do see an issue. I do have this guide here. It needs to be turned around so that it reaches on this deck belt as it goes around this pulley here. So this guide is incorrect, but that doesn't warrant me having to take off the entire tensioner mechanism. I can just take off this nut right here. Let's move on to the brakes. Alright guys, and to wrap the deck up here, I just wanted to show you, I put the spring in, goes in this hole and that hole, push it back, it should return on its own just like it is. I also loosen this nut up, move this guide around, and the guide is where it's supposed to be as well. So that's good. Got our brakes working again, and now we'll move over to the tires, or the brakes. And the best thing to do is to get this right rear off, which may be a little difficult on this one because it doesn't have a dust cover. Well, it's probably gonna be fine, but it's just just this washer and an E-clip. I'm gonna find a jack and a little bit of lubricant, just conveniently right here. We're gonna take this off. There's a key inside here. Don't lose the key. When you put the wheel back on, we're gonna slide the key back in there. Let me get this thing jacked up. We'll take a look at the brakes and see what they need to do to be fixed on this thing. Alright guys, so I can tell that somebody's been down here in the brakes, but what happens a lot of times, you press on the brake pedal, nothing happens. A lot of times these slide pins inside of the brake caliper get seized up. I actually have an example here that I can show you all. You can see how rusted those can get right there. This is a brake, this is a whole brake assembly here, minus the pad. And one thing that this one is supposed to have that it does not is that spring that you can see right there. So that return spring is not allowing, the lack of return spring is not allowing the brakes to work. These bolts can be rough to get out, so be careful trying to get them out. If you put a little lube on them, I did get the left one out. Let's see if the right one will come out with minimal effort. Yes, okay, so we're good. And once you get the deck off and the wheel off, don't put your weight on the right side of the mower first off. But this is really easy to get. So it's just a matter of just taking the bolts off, just like that. And your pad is out, and you just slide it off there. And this one's going to be easy to fix, from what I can tell. Yeah, somebody's been in this, I think. Well, maybe not. Maybe like a Peerless transmission instead of a Spicer or something to have a little bit of difference. But I'm going to get this bolt off of this thing. We're going to put it aside. A 9/16. What we have to do now is get this on the bench. Taking half, maybe a half, or 7/16. One of the two, and get this off so that we can access these slide pins. And once we can access these slide pins, which kind of slide a little bit, then we'll be able to fix these brakes and be okay, I think. So let me do that. I'll show you the finished product. All you gotta do is take this off right here and then beat out the slide pins, clean them in a wire brush, lube everything up, and slide them back and forth in the caliper, and you're good to go. Alright guys, so I got everything back together. The slide pins I did with the wire brush, just like I told y'all. Y'all have seen it a few times on the channel. Put it all back together, tightened up this adjustment nut to where this is free, but it's still pressing down the brake. As you can see, I'm going to press the brake a couple times and you'll see it return like it's supposed to and engage like it's supposed to. So that is how y'all want it to look. That's how it needs to look, with the return spring, the bolts, the tension, and the brake arm. You could adjust the how tight this is, and just to make it a little bit better. But I think this one's just fine. We're going to test it out once I put the wheel back on. Again, I'll put the wheel back on. Make sure you put your little key in, and you're good to go. Next thing after that, we'll move on to the valves. We're going to check the valves to see if they're out of adjustment or not. This thing is a little hard to start with a good battery, but it will get over the hump. And usually, when it gets over the hump, it's fine. So, and it could also have been, the belt was dragging because of the tensioner spring not being on there. For the return spring, excuse me. So we're going to see if it'll turn over okay now that we have fixed all that. If not, then we'll dive back into it and see if the valves need adjusting. Alright guys, let me show you what's going on here, and I don't know exactly, but what it's doing, and maybe it'll do it on camera here when I try and crank it up. See that? And then it'll try and go. kind of hear gas coming out. So I'm wondering if I have a valve that's a little bit sticky on this thing. Or not sticky, but a little bit loose. So we're gonna get the hood off. Here we go. And what I've got to do to figure this out, I'm going to take the jack and jack up the front. That way I don't lose any oil out the valve cover. And I'm going to take some 10mm bolts and jack it up by the pulley. Or take a 10mm socket. Give this thing a look in here and see how bad the valves are. I feel like they're just out of adjustment because it'll catch after like the first or the second try. Usually, if it's a compression release, it won't even try, even on a new battery, which that battery is fairly new. So let me get some of the valves situated here, hopefully, and I'll when I get inside the valves, we'll check the feeler gauge and stuff and make sure that they're within spec. If not, we'll adjust them to spec. But I have a feeling that they have an issue. Alright guys, so the valves ended up being in spec here. It's on top dead center, and well, it was after I turned it. There's a little residual from where you put the blue Loctite, but I don't think it'd be anything that would cause any difference. I did notice that it has a probably doesn't cause any difference either, but this is a what the heck, a waxing plug. It's gold instead of the Champion, so I'm gonna put the Champion in here. I don't know, I don't think that'll have anything to do with it. A bad compression release would not allow it to still turn over like that though, so I don't know what may be going on with that, but I will get this back on. And unfortunately the two bottom ones have been drilled out and replaced with nuts. They work. It's not factory OEM, but like I said, it works just fine. So I just put these back on. Along with my top ones. Oh. That one. And that one. And I'll just screw these back on. Get this on the ground, I'll crank it up. It does take a second to crank because I don't think the choke's adjusted properly, but once I adjust the choke properly, it should crank right up for us. So let me, like I said, let me work on it a little bit, and I'll be back in just a second. I'll get the deck back on it, and we'll finish this thing out. I just wanted to show you the common issues that I find and kind of how to get into them to check. When you get into the valve cover, there is a nut. It could be a 3/8, it could be a 5/8, depending on, or 10mm or 5/8, depending on what you do, and you have a star bit on the inside. You hold the star bit, loosen the nut, tighten the star bit, tighten the nut. That tightens your valves. If you need to loosen the valve, you loosen that little star bit inside there. The quick and dirty is the synopsis as to how to do that, guys. Alright guys, so after I filmed the valves, I let it run for a little bit, and finally whatever was left of the compression release finally let go, because now it won't even start at all. So again, good that it happened on my watch. But literally this thing was running and cutting when I got it, but it literally had every single issue that these things have on it. The compression release for one, the brakes, the deck return spring, and the cracked hood at the front. So I'm not going to go into detail on replacing the compression release. I've done that at length in a video on this channel. I'm sure if you Google Ellis Mowers compression release, you'll find it. It's hard to sort through about 700 videos to find a link to put in the description. But anyways, that's what's going on with this. It's going to need a compression release. Nothing else is needed. Y'all see me get these things ready all the time. It's just going to need cleaning up. It's pretty clean as it is. But the purpose of this video was to show y'all the 4 things that happen most often to a Craftsman LT1000. The 4 things you're going to look out for if you go buy one. The 4 things that you can look out for if you own one and something happens to it, or if you want to provide preventative maintenance items to it. That's another thing. So again, thank y'all again for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I tried to keep it moving and tried to keep it informative, yet relatively short, and I hope it worked out okay. Again, if you have any questions about this video or any other video you see on the channel, feel free to reach out to me at ellis@ellismowers.com or at ellismowers09 on Instagram and Facebook. I also have affiliate links down below. You get a little bit of a discount, and I get a little bit of a commission if you purchase using those links or discount codes. Thank you all again for watching, and I'll catch y'all on the next video. See you then.